Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're gonna be reacting to Geography Now, Denmark.
We have never reacted to Denmark.
Yeah, this will be the first time that we'll be reacting to Denmark.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful place, and we're looking forward to learning more about it and taking this journey with you guys. So, yeah, let's watch it.
Let's do it.
The Angola episode, I mentioned how I went to Denmark one time and bought a sandwich that was $21. Well, this was that sandwich, and my
gosh,
reaction was
that's
like,
so expensive.
$21? Oh, this better be the best sandwich I've ever had in my life. You got lucky.
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie, Legos, Vikings, and Roll med fløjl. We got a lot to cover, so let's jump in.
Let's
Denmark,
see.
the link between the rest of Europe and Scandinavia. So much to discuss. Denmark is classified as a Nordic country, hence located in the Northern European region, even though it's kind of like the southernmost state in the Nordics. Full disclaimer, ignore Wikipedia. I'm gonna pronounce the location names in their proper Danish context. So here we go. Denmark is made of the Jutland, not Jutland Peninsula that connects to Germany in the south, as well as 1,419 islands. Of those,
That's a
only
lot.
443 are named and 74 are inhabited. With the largest island being Sjælland, not Zealand, which is not to be confused with Dutch Zeeland, which is not to be confused with New Zealand, although they did get their name.
I can't take it. That's too much information.
It is
Crazy
connected
people.
to
That is
Fyn
true.
Island, not Fyn
Lot of
Island, by
information.
the Great Belt Bridge, completed in 1998. The country is divided into 5
I
regions.
just
the
got
capital being
born
Copenhagen,
in that.
located
Oh,
on the
really?
Sjælland. Copenhagen is home to a myriad of historical sites, palaces, statues, residential units that are all the same
Aw,
height and style,
pretty.
with pockets of colorful,
That is so
quaint, cozy
neat.
shops and cafes, and dangerous bicycle lanes that you are not supposed to walk on. Now, this is where things are going to get a little spiced up, and by spiced up, I mean freezing cold and covered in whale blubber. Denmark,
Okay.
as you know, is a kingdom, one of the last surviving ones in Europe, and is currently under the headship of chain-smoking Queen Margaret II. These still fall under Danish sovereignty and make up the massive Greenland island and the little Faroe Islands. Both of these places are radically different from mainland Denmark. For one, Greenland is primarily inhabited by native Inuit tribal peoples that live on the island and is 80% covered in ice year-round. The Faroe
Oh,
Islands are
gosh.
20
All of these pictures they showed so far of Denmark have just been beautiful.
Except the ice.
Yeah. Even the ice is pretty though, but I am just gonna act like it's not freezing cold.
I hate cold. It hurts all my bones.
You haven't even been in the cold. You can't even say that.
No, I was in China. and
Okay, no, we're done talking about this.
My
She-
knee hurts so bad because of the cold.
She has not even been. Oh gosh. She is gonna have a rude awakening being in the Midwest this year because she's never experienced snow.
No.
And
I'm
what was
excited.
it? Like 60 degrees there?
That was 50 something or 60. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's like 50 plus.
Here it gets negative.
Jesus Christ.
It's
I am out of here.
yeah. By winter time, she's like, "Get me out of here."
I know.
But-
I can't. I don't know how well would I go. Because, Jesus Christ, it was. For me, it was so cold when it was 50 in China.
You also probably didn't have the right clothing.
Yeah.
Because you were from the Philippines and you
Uh-huh.
were used to 80 degrees every day, but
Yeah. And my knee hurt so bad. I was like, I'm so old.
oh gosh.
But yeah,
mystical cloud
that was
over
the story.
islands that have this crazy looking lake that looks like it's about to spill over the
Ooh.
cliffs into the ocean.
Oh
These
my
two areas have their own
gosh, that's so
self-governing home
pretty.
rule,
Mhm.
otherwise only depending on Denmark for military, justice, currency, and foreign affairs. Otherwise, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, historically, they did try to kind of create an empire by colonizing parts of the Caribbean, Ghana, India, and then in the Nicobar
Oh.
Islands in the Indian Ocean, but they kind of ran out of money and ended up selling everything to other countries. Too bad.
Alright.
It would be awesome to see people in the Indian Ocean speaking Danish. Nonetheless, mainland Denmark is kind of like a fast-moving economic machine. Let's talk about how. Now, when it comes to land makeup, Denmark is pretty flat. I mean, the highest point,
Oh,
Mulapoy, is only
okay.
about 170 meters tall, and it looks like this. Otherwise, only about 13% of the country is forested, including the tree plantations, and the rest is pretty much used for agriculture that can produce enough
that's
food to feed
good.
about 15
Yeah.
million people. It's
Aw.
about 3 times the size of
That's
their entire
pretty.
population. Good for you, Denmark. But one thing Denmark is actually famous for growing is non-produce plants like grass, fodder, and Christmas trees. The highly sought-after Danish
Interesting.
fir has been classified as the Rolls-Royce of Christmas trees, and every year investors from Germany, the Netherlands, and even the UK jump in at the end of November and grab whatever they can before it's gone. Now, one thing you need to know
I would
is that,
grab
like many
one.
other areas in the
Interesting.
Nordic region, Denmark's weather can be quite dreary. First of all, Denmark is the only Nordic country that doesn't really get a lot of snow. Denmark is kind of like the mud pit located below the jet stream blocked by Norway
Okay.
and the UK.
Oh, that's
This means that
good,
even though it gets really
actually.
cold, pressure systems rarely.
I mean, if it gets cold, you personally, if it gets cold, I would want snow because at least snow is pretty and it's not just like gray all year. If that makes sense. Like last Christmas, we didn't have any snow, not one snowfall, and then of course right after Christmas we got a bunch of snow. I was like, man, we don't need any snow anymore.
Cause snow. This is also pretty much why everybody dresses like a J. Crew fall fashion line model on the streets. If you're gonna get
Oh.
wet and freezing, you may as well look good while doing it.
That's
Otherwise, yeah, I mean,
nice.
pretty much the rest of Denmark is just rolling green plains with sandy beaches and quirky little islands that people like to hop over for camping trips in the summer. If we were gonna talk about Greenland and the Faroe Islands, we would get a radically different story of mind-boggling, captivating cliffs, bluffs, sea stacks, glaciers, fissures,
Ooh.
icebergs,
Oh my
and mountains. If
gosh.
you don't know what a Mulan is, it's not this, but this.
This Mulan is large enough to swallow a
Oh,
school
oh
bus.
no, I bet that's so cold. and
Yeah, that
I'll have to
looks
say that for another
terrifying.
people, they'll come out in
Deep.
9,374 years. In the meantime, let's talk about the people. Now this is gonna get really fun. Denmark's people are really unique in their cultural, historical, and postmodern upbringing. First of all, the country has about 5.7 million people and is one of the highest taxed countries in the world. About 89% of the
really?
country identifies as ethnically Danish, about 11% are others. Some of the largest groups in the other category being the
That's
Polish,
not much people,
Germans,
actually.
Turkish,
Yeah.
Romanians, Iraqis, and Afghans. Now when it comes to Danish culture, there's a lot behind it, but in a nutshell, Vikings. Vikings pretty much had their start in what is now present-day Denmark and whom pretty much dominated all of the Nordic regions as far as Newfoundland in Canada to Estonia, which is why most of the Nordic states and regions can pretty much understand each other when they talk. Danes, Swedes,
interesting.
Norwegians, and Icelanders can generally understand each other as they have the same basic linguistic structure. Sure, there are subtle discrepancies, but overall they can kind of get by conversation.
It's really interesting learning about some of these other countries, like kind of understanding each other.
Yeah.
Because I feel like English, I don't know, I feel like you can't really understand, well, personally me, I can't really understand a lot of what other languages says. I'm like, what?
I know.
Hei sama, olen saunassa, jos jotain asia.
Granted, there's a saying, the Norwegian and Swedish languages sound like dancing fairies, whereas the Danish
What?
language sounds like a
Really?
dude with a potato in his mouth. By the way, anybody
What?
who wants to learn Danish, full disclosure, it's gonna suck. The J makes the Y sound, the Y makes the U sound, the V makes a W sound, the R makes a R sound, the H is silent half the time, a ton of the letters are never even
Okay.
used, and don't even get started on A, U, and O. I kind of discovered a little trick though when I went to
Okay.
Denmark. When speaking Danish, all you really have to do is kind of like pronounce the first part of the word that you think makes a sound, and then just kind of like give up on the rest of the word. For example, Copenhagen, Nubrogen,
Oh my god.
I'm literally just listing
That's
names of
so
places in
hard to
Copenhagen that I've been
pronounce.
to.
Yeah,
Honestly, though,
what?
you really won't have much of a problem getting around if you speak English. Over 80% of the entire country, mostly the younger generation, speaks proficient English to the point where they don't even need
That's good.
subtitles when watching
That's
American
very
TV
good.
shows and movies. Also, keep in mind, Greenland has its own language that is completely unintelligible as it's an Inuit language closer to the indigenous Inuktitut and Yupik languages found in Canada and Alaska. And Faroese is pretty hard for most Danish people to grasp as it actually has more words rooted in the ancient Norse language and it's actually more intelligible to Icelandic. Back to culture though, Denmark has definitely left its mark, whether it's notable figures like author Hans Christian Andersen, philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, or whether... That's actually how you pronounce his name. Wow. It's not Soren Kierkegaard. or whether it be the invention of the loudspeaker or Legos or their love of handball, their impeccable architecture,
Ooh,
love
that's
of
fun.
cuisine. Noma in
That
Copenhagen,
looks
by the way,
yummy.
being voted the best restaurant in the world with plates that feature live ants and moss. If you're really gonna get a feel for
What?
Danish culture, though,
Oh,
you kind of have to
gosh.
know about janteloven and hygge. The funny thing is, Danes are kind of brought up in a social mindset that is kind of integrated into their subconscious, known as janteloven, which kind of translates to something like, you are not better than the crowd, which I know sounds kind of depressing,
Oh,
but it's
gosh.
really trying to instill a sense of equality and communal cooperation. Hygge translates to something like, spend good times with friends and family, and it's like a cozy thing. Of course, Denmark is known
that's
for
fun.
being ranked one of the happiest overall countries, even though they are also kind of one of the highest ranked consumers of antidepressants as well. But hey, they still pull off everything
Ah.
oh so good, even if it's during one of those really loud annual emergency drills.
Okay, Christine, explain what's happening right now.
Denmark is testing the sirens for warfare. Yeah, when we're being attacked by the Germans again.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
I'm really scared right now.
Let's run to the security basement.
The Germans are coming! Speaking
Oh
of Germans.
gosh.
Now, we all know that one person we're all kind of jealous of because they're kind of rich, well-adjusted, and have a ton of friends, and they're like kind of good-looking. Well, that's Norway. Denmark is a little bit rockier. No, but seriously, for such a small nation,
okay.
Denmark has a huge entourage of friends, and it's almost kind of hard for anyone in the world to dismiss them at a party. As a founding member of the EU and NATO, Denmark has had roots planted in diplomacy for decades. First off, Denmark generally gets along with Germany. Business between the Germans is a hugely integral part of their economy, and Denmark acts like the gateway to Scandinavia for them and the rest of Europe. The US and the UK are incredibly close, as both tangible and cultural imports have been established for centuries. For a while, the Danes even took over parts of the UK, which is why to this day the English language still retains hundreds of Old Norse-derived words like leg, dog, and window. The closest friends, though, would have to be the Nordic countries: Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland. These four are without a doubt Denmark's closest friends, even though Sweden and them have kind of had more wars and battles historically than any other two states in the world. They've moved on and grown up. Out of the Nordic countries, though, Norway would probably be considered their best friends. Danes are obsessed with Norwegians and often consider Norway the girlfriend they took away from Sweden. In conclusion, Denmark is the rich, rainy rascal that always seems to show up on time for every party, but somehow gets all his work done in an organized, efficient manner. Stay tuned.
Okay,
Djibouti
that's
is
good.
coming up next.
Wow. That was a lot of information in just short amount of time.
Yeah, that's how it normally is with Geography Nows, but they're very informational.
Yes, and I like how you like cool Denmark as like it's always. It's so beautiful, but then of course it's very expensive. You
I
hear what you
know.
said? $21 sandwich.
That's crazy. Sandwiches here probably, I don't know,
$10?
10, maybe $15.
15, yeah.
But that's crazy, $21 sandwich. But I guess if it was the best he's ever had,
Then
it's probably worth it.
yeah.
Honestly. You gotta spend some money on yourself. But yeah, if you guys liked our video, please like and subscribe and comment down below what else we should watch. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.